Hi everybody and welcome to this episode of Tuxy TV, and today I have a very special guest, Maillet, a former pro wrestler under the name Kurrgan, actor, has been in movies such as 300, Sherlock Holmes, Immortals, Pacific Rim, Hercules, Deadpool 2 to name a few. Won the Best Fight Award on MTV for the scene in fight scene in 300, and punched Robert Downey Jr. During filming of Sherlock Holmes.
I also won an award for that too.
Yeah, you won an award for that. So, Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
So, starting from the beginning, can you tell me a little bit more about how you got started in pro wrestling?
Well, to begin, when you want to be a pro wrestler, you have to be a fan. So I was a huge fan of pro wrestling. Growing up here, watching Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling in the right times, of course, and I watched it when I was young, watched the live events, and I wanted to watch it with my dad, and then I saw the WWF for the first time on TV, of course, in the mid-'80s when Hulk Hogan was on top, and Andre, the giant macho man, and I was like, wow, this is awesome, this is cool, blown away. So I got into convince myself, then into maybe some of my friends convinced me that I could be a pro wrestler. Right. And then so because I had the height, obviously I was a tall kid. Yeah. Not fully developed, big bone, big tall kid, of course. So I was double the size than the other kids my age. But I was convincing myself I wanted to be one, and I thought because you're tall. I was told that they had more of a chance of making it in wrestling because there were big guys in there. So I tried it. I tried it. It took a while.
But how did you go into? Did you like wrestle amateur around here?
Never. No amateur wrestling in my high school. Was no amateur wrestling. Hockey was I didn't care for it. I mean, I enjoyed watching hockey, but not to play it. It was kind of awkward. Yeah. Played volleyball in high school.
No basketball.
No, there's no basketball team in high school too. This is in Boktush, and they were not pushing basketball. And I think it was a thing too. I tried basketball for fun, but it wasn't my sport. Okay. The whole idea of dribbling balls and it didn't make sense to me for some reason. And I couldn't dunk. Yeah. So that.
So how did you get? Did you go directly to like WW? I guess would have been F at that time.
No, not really. They come to you in a way. But how it worked out was I started wrestling here in Grand Prix outdoors. I went to see Neil Dupree, at the time the promoter, and he wasn't interested at the time. He was impressed that I was tall, but I wasn't filled up, and then I was still a big fan, so he wasn't interested with me at the time. He wanted me to go back to train, I guess, but I went to bug Stephen Pettipal. This is one of Neil Dupree's big stars at the time. Okay. And Stephen, of course, he's from Shittiak locally, and he wrestled all over the world, and big guy himself. And I bugged him. I went to see him at a hockey game in Boktush one winter, and I asked him if he had time to train me, and he was impressed, but again, he didn't have time. But a few months later, he called me up, asking me if I was still interested to be trained as a pro wrestler. Right. And they needed 3 or 4 guys to finish the season of United Grand Prix Wrestling in the summer. So they got trained for like a crash course, a month of training, not long, but just enough to know the basic stuff. Yeah. And they put me on the card, and right away they put me as an attraction. Its main event is giant. Anything blank giants. Yeah. French giant.
Giant cells. Yeah.
Giant. And so already I started my touring around the Maritimes. Everything that summer was pretty magical for me because I dreamt of it, being a pro wrestler for the longest time. My family, my friends got sick of it just by talking about it. And so it was starting to realize, And then, well, it can go, and we don't have a long time to talk, but WWF, it took a while. I had my trial. I had 2 trials with them. First trial was a couple of years later after I started wrestling. And
how do you try out for?
Yeah, well, you refer to Leo Burke. Leo Burke was one of my mentors. Yeah. In wrestling, he was a famous family and Merman Cook, of course, legendary. And Leo was working with he seemed to have a lot of connections with some of the wrestlers in the States and agents and all that stuff. And I think it was Leo who told them about me the first time, my first tryout. So they were interested, and they flew me down to Utica, New York, in Utica, upstate New York, where they were doing TV tapings.
Okay.
This is 1981.
91.
And I was like a fish out of water. First time on the plane, first time on the plane out of Moncton. I was like very excited, very nervous.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, because I have a feeling, I'm sure I wasn't ready for that moment. You know, it was at the end of the summer, I was kind of burnt out, you know, it wasn't the shape I wanted to be, and I'm still green too.
Right.
Anyway, but I still wanted to go to see what it was like, and I went to see backstage to pick me up, roll me to the arena, and I saw everybody there, everybody from the WWF at the time.
Wow.
Ric Flair, Piper.
No way.
I saw Bret, of course. Bret Hart was there, and who else? The Undertaker.
No way.
Everybody was there. I was like, my phone. Had a dark match with this local guy.
Okay.
Bob Bradley, he was a local jobber, and I wrestled in front of 7,000 people.
Wow.
I think. Overwhelming, nervous, and they booed me. They didn't know what the hell I was.
No way.
Yeah,
were you automatically a bad guy?
Yeah, automatically.
Yeah.
I was an unknown,
right.
You know, of course, you know. But did the match, you know. So after the match, basically they said, "Don't call, you know, we'll call you.
Yeah.
Don't call us, we'll call you."
Right.
They knew I wasn't ready. Right. So it was kind of a disappointment, but still a thrill to be there.
Absolutely.
But 4 or 5 years later, 60, something like that, 5 years later, again, I think it was through Leo Berg. He was working for Bret Hart at the time in Calgary. He was training guys at Bret Hart's house. And Bret Hart was still the champion, still connected with the WWF. Yeah. The top guy. And Leo talked to Bret about me, and Bret was interested to see me. So they flew me down to Calgary and met Bret. Spent a whole month in Calgary training to learn about the basics. Because that in between time, at the time I was at home, I was bouncing bar. There was nothing going on in the wrestling. Right. Very slow. So I thought my dream was going away, and then I got the call from Leo. So this is another great opportunity. Right. Spent a month, and then Bret was satisfied with the results after a month, and then they flew me down to see my partners. I was to be part of a tag team called the Truth Commission from South Africa. Okay. And that was our army gimmick, our team, part of it, that team with the commandant, and I was called the interrogator. We had red berets and marching and all that stuff. That's where I met Vince. I was in Stamford, Connecticut, which is the headquarters of the WWF. And I met Vince McMahon for the first time. It was like meeting God. So absolutely. It was very intimidating. You know, interesting guy, of course, you know, and he liked my look and all that stuff. And I met my partners, of course, and spent a couple of weeks there in Stanford. And then they would send us down for one of the farm leagues at the time. Okay. It was in Memphis, Tennessee. So I spent 4 months in Memphis to wrestle for the USWA, which was run by Jerry the King Lawler. Okay. And so Jerry Lawler was my boss for 4 months. Wrestled 7 days a week all around the South. And just in front of 50 people, 100 people, whatever, just like the Maritimes, very much.
Just to kind of break you in? Or
break in, but just to learn. To work as a team. Right. To work together and how to work as a team, to get experience and all that stuff, to a well-oiled machine. Yeah. And then after 4 months, they decided to have a tryout. A tryout with them. That was to the Monday Night Raw tapings in Detroit, Michigan. So they flew us down. This is a do or die thing. Okay. Pretty much. It was the first match. They call it a dark match. Dark match was the same that the cameras are down. Okay, right. They're not taped. They're not for the public. Right. And so they call it a dark match. So it was our tryout, and it was again in front of a huge packed crowd in Detroit, Joe Louis Arena, I think. Mm-hmm. And do or die. So it was pretty. We knew we were pretty confident that we knew what we could do. You know, we worked together for 4 months, so we were very comfortable. Still, even so, you know, they could have all stopped right there too. You know,
and what does it mean to make it from the dark matches where they're not televised to the next step where? Well,
next step is they were happy with us. The whole the agents was the public. It's not the public. You know, get a reaction from the public, and you know it was a rush to to wrestle in front of them live.
Absolutely.
In front of the WWF taping, live event, but the agents were watching us, and that was the most important agents. And it was taped as well for the agents, probably for Vince as well, for all the officials, and we found out that they liked us, they liked me, they liked they liked the match, and we signed on. That's what it means. Yeah. So they liked match, and we signed on with the contracts. Wow. That was the next step.
And so, how long were you with the was it WF or WWE?
Well, at the time it was WWF. It still is. Yeah. But I signed on for 2 years, and third year optional, something like that. It's a very basic contract. Yeah. It's not really a perfect contract. You can't really negotiate with them. No. It was a risk to take the contract because it's all basically protecting them. Right. But it's the way to get in. And if you like you, and if you work hard, they'll push you, and then you get more time, TV, more work, more money, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, yeah. Wow. So, any memorable opponents or matches for you? If you could pick one that stood out. I wrestled Mick Foley, Mick Foley and Al Snow. They were a tag team, so that's pretty memorable. Nice, Mick Foley's a super nice guy. In fact, he was here a few weeks ago in Riverview. I was a special guest. Oh wow! He did his stand-up in Riverview. So they're all great guys. Yeah. I wrestled Big Van Vader. Vader, big guy, one of the biggest men, strong men at the time, intimidating as hell. Absolutely. Had Japanese style, like to work stiff. Yeah. And I worked with him in Anaheim, California, a live show, not TV, it was just a live event show, not televised, but it was me, and I saw the card, remembers the lineup, and Kurrgan versus Big Vader. It was like, what? Wasn't sure what was going to happen, because I know he worked stiff, and I worked stiff too, as well, but still wasn't sure what was going to, how it's going to turn out, if it's going to be a good match or not. So, but you worked solid stiff, but I held my own, and nobody got hurt, and everybody was happy at the end. People were happy, big reaction, and that's great. It's all good.
And how did you make the transition from wrestling to acting? Like, how did that all happen? Because now, obviously, you've been in a lot of big major movies, and a big part of your inspiration was wrestling. So when and how did that all happen?
Well, wrestling is kind of acting a bit. It is showbiz, especially with WWF. It's very showbiz. So it's very similar to being on set of being an actor, I guess, on a film, I suppose. You tell a story. Yeah. You tell a story in front of a crowd. Yeah. With your body, I suppose, and you're a stuntman and an actor at the same time. So it's very familiar. How I got started in the movies, though, I started small. I was referred to by an actor who worked on Trailer Park Boys. Okay. In Halifax, and he was a fan. He was friends of my in-laws, and they were living in Halifax, and he was referring me to one of his agents there. So I was interested. Yeah, I thought would be interesting, as an actor, the way I looked, of course. And so I got a couple of gigs out of it. It was an interesting experience. For the first time being on a TV set, on the set, it was cool. But like I said, it felt familiar for me. Yeah. It really did, because of the wrestling background I had at the WWF. But I was tired of driving back and forth with auditions, 3 hours on a bus. That was for auditions that never panned out. I wasn't ready for auditions. I wasn't really prepared for auditions, and so I kind of, after a couple of gigs I got, but it was fun. It was fun, but I just kind of stopped after a while. But a few years later, I got the call for 300.
So was that your big break?
That was my big film. My big feature film was 300. And how they got to me is it was all shot in Montreal, the film, and the stunt people went to see Jacques Rougeau, who played the Mountie in the WWF, and well-known third-generation wrestler in Quebec, and I knew him. I knew Jacques. I worked with him. We were friends, and they went to see Jacques in his wrestling school in Montreal. They went to see a big guy who could move like a stunt. So they wanted a stunt actor, a guy who would act and produce his own stunts. So I figured a wrestler could do it. So they went to see Jacques, and Jacques, they did some auditions before for big guys before. It didn't pan out. So Jacques referred me, and so they called me up, and They flew me down to Montreal for one day for an audition.
Yeah.
They wanted to see me if I got to look, if I was big enough, and if I could move with a wooden sword and all that. And then at the end of the day, they offered me a part. So that was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, because I knew how big the movie was. It was a Warner Brothers films. So it was a huge deal. So it kind of started.
Was it very different from you know, wrestling in front of 50,000 people or whatever than to being on set? Like,
well, because wrestling in front of 50,000 people or big crowds, I was very comfortable being on set. Because being on set in a Hollywood movie, big set, it was 100 people behind the camera. Right. From makeup to producers to stunts. They were all looking at you with big lights. Yeah. Looking at you, and you were all in makeup, and, you know, ready to go. Yeah. And that didn't bother me. I was nervous about that. I knew my role. I knew what I could do. You know, and I brought my Kurrgan out. Because Kurrgan, Zack Snyder, the director, my first direction he gave me was basically just go crazy, go scream and go. Okay. I said, well, I can do that. It's not hard. That's what I was doing in wrestling. Right. And then so I did. And I remember after the first day, they said cut, and everybody was cheering. They were very surprised. Oh. They were very happy how it turned out, how I approached the role, I guess. So it was a great experience, you know, especially paying my dues through makeup. It was a 5-6 hour makeup process every day. Oh, wow. And I loved it, though, being on set. And then the movie came out, of course. It took a while for the movie to come out. There was a lot of post-production, special effects in that one. But when the movie did come out, the movie was huge at the box office. So for me, it was like, well, this is cool. Being part of my first film and over a big time, you know, box office.
And your part in that movie too was pretty, like, you stood, well, you obviously stand out in real life, but you stood out in that fight, hence the, you know, the award for the scene, all that stuff.
It was a great fight, very choreographed. We did it 2 hours a day when we were rehearsing, practicing, training with a sword, how to handle a sword properly, and then do the fight every day, 2 hours. That's why they had 2 hours a day for me, because the rest of the day they all had different battles. Right. You had to practice and rehearse. And it stood out. The reason why it stood out in that movie is because it's the only, to think about it, it's the only one-on-one fight in that movie. Oh, all the rest are all battles. Right. They're all battles. So they wanted to kind of give it a break in all battles. People would get tired after seeing all battles after a while, so they just wanted to have one big boss fight. Like in a video game. Yeah. You know, they have a big boss at the end of
their level or something.
Level, so it's the same thing. So they created Uber Immortal, my character, because the character wasn't in the books, because it's based on a graphic novel, Frank Miller, and so they created just for the movie, just to have a one-on-one fight. You know, so that's kind of how it stuck out and how the fight was kind of intense. You know.
And now, would you say that as you're rolling in other films, have you embraced that kind of, do you keep embracing your inner Kurrgan when you do other movies or whatever? Like,
it depends on the role. It depends if you want me to get, if I wanted to get the Kurrgan, I have fight scenes, a lot of fight scenes, and I do go back when I was Kurrgan, you know, to get the facial reaction. Kurrgan was kind of the wrestling is kind of over the top. Right. You couldn't use a wrestling move. You know, the stunt guys don't like to stunt coordinators, actually. They knew I was my background, and sometimes I think of wrestling moves I could use, but it doesn't work in a movie. Right. Wrestling moves. You can't body slam, doesn't make sense body slamming people. They like the realism. So fights, kicks, or punching like you would do in a bar, brawl, you know, that will look good. Yeah. But not wrestling. It's very cartoonish in some ways. You know, so still, the intensity, because I brought an intensity to Kurrgan. I believed what I was doing in the ring, so the idea is people will follow you. You know? Right. So I believe in my character, whatever character I played on set, on movies, whatever. I had to get the energy up, the intensity, and people will hopefully believe me what I do.
And is it often people get hurt? So maybe talk to me a little bit more about maybe what I think is your most famous, not injury, but caused injury.
Well, it was, it was the mostly reported, that one. Yeah. Infamous. It's just an accident that happened on set, that's all. It's nothing much. Robert Downey, we did a lot of choreograph, a lot of fights between me and him for the whole week. Right. And He likes to do his own stunts,
okay.
Mostly, and then it's just something we rehearse, but then I never had time to rehearse really.
Of course, yeah.
So of course it happened where I was supposed to punch him towards his face, and I couldn't fake it. I had to go towards his face,
right?
Because the idea is he was supposed to block it,
right? And
then I hit him in the chest, and he would fall back. So in my mind, of course, I thought he was going to stop me, but he forgot. It happened so fast that he completely forgot. So I continued with the punch, and I hit him right in the chin. So yeah, so I knew I felt his chin, so I knew I hurt him. He fell down, he stole awake, I saw blood coming out, and it was like, great, I just killed
the lead actor.
Just killed the lead actor. Just killed Iron Man, so he can form his Avengers.
So therefore you are Iron Man, yeah.
No, I felt bad, I felt terrible. Yeah. So great, my big chance on the big movie, and I just hurt the lead actor. Yeah. The insurance guys was kind of freaking out. But it worked out at the end. I mean, it was nothing too serious. After I cut his lip, and he gave some stitches at the end of the night.
Gives you some pretty good street cred.
Yeah. But he gave me a nice bottle of champagne the next day. Like, this, everything's cool.
Everything's okay.
Even a little note he personally.
Oh, really? Oh,
wow. For a little message thing, everything's okay.
Oh, that's good. Must have been reassuring because you don't want it to look fake in the movie.
No, it wasn't caught in the film. That's one thing. If it was caught if it was caught on tape, they would have probably used it. Yeah. But that's fine. It was good publicity, though.
Yeah.
For me and for the film, but for me too. It was mentioned. Robert Downey mentioned me. With David Letterman on it. So it was good.
Yeah. And so what projects you got going on now? What's so you recently, I just watched it a few weeks ago, Deadpool 2, you had a part in it. Now, is there anything now you can speak about what you're working on, or anything coming up in the future?
Well, I did. There's a film coming out. I worked on it earlier this year. Mm-hmm. It's called Polar.
Polar.
It's on Netflix. It'll be a Netflix movie. So it's coming out in the new year, in the winter. Mm-hmm. Possibly early winter. It was early New Year. I'm not sure. I have no dates yet. Okay. And it's a very cool film. I have a cool part in it. It's about assassins. A group of assassins trying to kill off, to retire another assassin to work for the company. Okay. So in the company, when you retire, well, you can't retire. Right. So the company hires a team to kill them off to get them the retiree money. It's based on webisodes. Okay. The Polar, it's kind of graphic novel, comic book style. Very dark, very graphic, like very violent. Okay. Very cool though, and it's with Mads Mikkelsen, the lead actor, is Hannibal in the TV series. Okay. He was also the main villain in Casino Royale. Okay. Well-known Danish actor, and a great guy to work with. But I had a cool part. I play Carl. Carl is one of the assassins, and it's very neat. And that's coming out in a few months from now. Awesome. And then. I work with the newbies. This is local now. I'm talking about local. The newbies for Radio Canada. The newbies is based with the actors who worked on the Pied de Sagren, the local comedians from Moncton. Okay. So Luc Leblanc plays Citrouille, and André Roy and Christian Ancien. They're all local actors, and the story is a TV series based on their lives, loosely based on their lives. Okay. Where how they became, they grew up here in the Cape, being a comedian here in the Maritimes, but they wanted to make it big in Quebec and just for real, just last. Yeah. So it's based on them. So I worked on an episode, one or two, and that's coming out at the same time in the new year. Very cool. And
I just have one last question. It's something we like to ask a lot of people, and I'm very curious what your answer is. So you're a big dude. What's your cheat meal? I feel like you could probably eat like 25 cheeseburgers.
At one time I could have. At one time I used to eat cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
I do a cheat meal. I do have lots of cheat meals.
What's your go-to? Your one?
I do a lot of pasta. I mean, I make pasta at home. Okay. For the family, so I make spaghetti, mostly spaghetti. Mm-hmm. And I do all the ingredients. I put everything to make a pasta sauce. Yeah. I don't make my own pasta. Obviously, I buy it in bottles and stores and stuff. But I do love pasta, for sure. I do.
And what about in your heyday? I feel that you get a few maybe extraordinary stories? Is there one time that you maybe ate an insane amount or something?
Yeah, well, that was trying to gain a jacket.
Okay.
The Ribera jacket, because I went to Japan. When I was wrestling, I went to the tours in Japan. And in Japan, there's where the Canadians or Americans, North Americans go, wrestlers, when they go to Japan, they want steak. They go to this famous steakhouse.
Okay.
In Japan, in Tokyo. It's called Ribera Steakhouse. And it's a small little restaurant, about the size of this building.
Okay.
5, 6 tables. Very small, but the owner of the restaurant is a big, huge wrestling fan.
Okay.
And so pictures of all the boys, wrestlers, from the walls and the ceilings, all signed by Hulk Hogan, all the big names of the time that went through there. But it's Kobe steak.
Okay, yeah.
It's Kobe, so it's one of the best steaks in the world. You know, the massage the cow, and given beer, make the beef tender. And the reason I wanted to go there, I wanted to get a jacket, because they don't sell jackets to customers. They give it away to fighters, to wrestlers or to MMA fighters.
Okay.
And for me, I've seen a lot of wrestlers do well known, like The Undertaker, for instance. And even my Stephen Pettipaw wore jackets, Ribera. It's like your initials, basically. How to become a wrestler, like in golf, they got the green jacket.
Oh yeah, right.
So when you have a green jacket, you made it, you know. But for me, to have a Ribera jacket, you made it as a wrestler, because they only give you if you do like 3 tours, or if you were a well-known wrestler, they'll give the jacket to you.
Oh wow.
And so it's an honor to have a jacket. So for me to have a jacket, I made it as a wrestler.
Absolutely.
And so I have to prove it to them, though. I have to prove to them that, because I only did 2 tours at the time, so it wasn't well known for them. But I wanted to prove that I wanted that jacket. And then I had to eat 4 steaks, 4 steaks, you know, the best steak. Like I said, it's the best steak in the world. And I had to eat expensive steaks in the world. I got a lot of beer with it and a lot of salad. But with me and with this other wrestler I was with, Juggernaut, he's from Vancouver, big guy himself. So we were kind of in a contest.
Competing,
I ate the most, and at the end of the night they were happy, impressed that we'd spent that much money on steaks, but they gave us jackets, and I still wear them today. But they're not winter jackets, of course.
No.
So
that was like your rite of passage, right?
It is. It's still at home. I still wear it all the time, every year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome. I sacrifice for it.
Very cool. Very cool stories. That's amazing. Thank you very much, Robert, for being on the show. Really appreciate everything. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and make sure to check out Robal's movies on Netflix and all over, theaters near you. Thanks again, Robal.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Till next time.